Let's hope the internet works. What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? Let's hope the internet works. Let's see if people jump in here or not. Anybody on? Wonder if anybody's gonna watch. Hey, what's up? What's up, Shannon? What's up, Big Cat? Awesome.
What you tripping on? So what you tripping on? Said what you tripping on? So what you tripping on? Logo label, I'm flashing on G-shape on. What you tripping on? Saving room for break, can we come back? One no listen up, son. Like a bullet out of song, step around, you get stung. And hey, and I got you all looking at me deep. We're crossing the past, you'll land a 6 feet deep. But hold up, what you see is down the road is clean. Send you to the market while we send us on free.
Yeah, I just went on live just now. What's going on? Just waiting to see if Mr. Olsen shows. I sent him the link. What are you guys up to? Who am I playing? What song is that? There he is. Mr. Olsen is here. Man, it's so hot in this bar. Hang on. I see you, Mr. Olsen. Hang on one sec. I just want to tell everybody what song I was playing. That was a song by Green Man. He comes in the chat room. The band is Blow Up Betty, and the name of that song is Flow. He lets me use it for the show. I think it's very apropos because when I do a show, I like to flow. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to add Mr. Olsen to stream. Hi, Mr. Olsen. How are you, sir? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Sorry. Can I call you Brad? It's all right to call you Brad?
Sure.
Sorry, there's a little commotion in the background. You know, there's a lot of work going on here. Tomorrow's the first day that the bars in Forest Park get to open up again. Whoops.
Lucky you guys.
Yeah,
it's still in California here. No one knows when it's going to open up.
Oh, really? So which part of California are you in?
Right now I'm in Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was in I used to live in Camp Pendleton. I was in the Marine Corps out there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great place, California. I'm thankful for the time that you're giving me. You know, I'm not really a real interviewer, but because of the lockdown and the bar being empty, I was able to start doing some stuff on my own. You know, I'm a big fan of UFOs. I've been seeing them for a while, and I started talking to your cousin, Sarah. Yeah. And she told me that you were her cousin, and I thought that was amazing because I think you are an amazing person. You're a real adventurer. You know, I purposely did not watch any of your YouTube videos because I just wanted to talk to you one-on-one and, you know, any of your old interviews and stuff just to talk to you. So thank you for being here. I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but feel free to jump in and let us know what you're up to. You know, you do this for a living, so you'd probably be way better at starting us off anyway. So go ahead.
Well, Dave, it's the first time I've ever been interviewed from a bar, so
cool.
Like to have first things in my life, and this is great. I see the dartboards behind you, and it's like a fun place. I know my cousin Sarah, she loves to play darts, so hopefully she's watching right now. Well, hey, I'm like you. I've had some sightings of paranormal experiences for quite a long time. I'm from Illinois, Arlington Heights, northwest suburbs there. Now I'm
Cool.
out here in California. But I think this is one of the most important subjects that we could endeavor to study. More and more people are waking up to this reality that we are not alone. And it is going to be a complete paradigm changer. It will change everything in our society as we know it when this starts to become well known to the general population. Why? Because it's not so much, if we're talking about ET visitation, it's not so much what they look like, the color of their skin, if they have scales, if they have slits in their eyes, if they're bipedal. What it's really about is how did they get here? And when we examine the craft and when we look at how their propulsion systems work and anti-gravity and 0 point, that is going to be a complete game changer for energy, for space exploration, for knowing that we're not alone in the universe. It's a whole field of study now called exopolitics. What are the aliens curious about here on Earth? What is their interaction, and what are we giving them in return? So to study these subjects is really putting us in the vanguard of what is to come. Meaning, if you give yourself the ability to imagine what it would be like to be in contact with very intelligent extraterrestrial species, I mean, if they made their way here, they're pretty smart, more technologically advanced than we are. So exopolitics is a very important field of research, and I'm very fortunate that I get to speak at conferences and be on TV shows and meet other individuals in this field who are also on the cutting edge of this information. And well, if it was without this COVID pandemic, I would be right now in Palm Springs right now, speaking at Contact in the Desert this weekend, which is one of the biggest UFO conferences in the country. But now I'm talking to you, Dave.
Well, that's awesome. I hope I'm a good second best for you. You know,
Contact in the Midwest, let's call it.
for a venture like you, the lockdown must be kind of tough, huh? How have you been able to pass your time during this period?
Well, I'm not really caving into the fear and the hype. Although my life pretty much got put on pause. I'm also the producer of a large street fair event here in San Francisco, California, which is just 75 miles north of where I'm at. We're going to try to reschedule that for September. So that was a big one. All 5 of my conferences in the spring and summer have been canceled or postponed. So what am I doing? Well, I'm finishing up my 10th book called Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet. I'm also traveling. I'm not worried about traveling. I just came back from a couple weeks in Arizona, and that was great. I was coming back right when they were opening up the whole state. I'll get back to California, and it's even more in a lockdown. So it's really a tale of 2 states out here, Dave. Some are opening up and are just fine. Others are still playing this thing out.
Now, let's get back to UFOs a little bit. Sorry about all the commotion again. There is a lot of cleaning going on around here. Yeah, I told everybody I was going live right now, but
it's all good, man. It makes you real.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. That's what I strive to be, is unscripted and real. But getting back to UFOs, I agree with you a lot on what you said. I've been seeing them for a while. I've been seeing them since 2009. I know they're real. You know, I know they're here. And what upsets me a lot, and what we talk about a lot in the chat room, and I wanted to get your input on this, is there's a lot of people out there pushing for disclosure. They want, I guess, the government to tell us that it's real. But for people like myself that have been seeing them, you know, personally, I don't need that confirmation from the government about disclosure. What do you think, Brad?
Well, the government has a lot to lose because they've been covering this up for decades now, and they've been backward engineering this technology. One of my books called Future Esoteric, The Unseen Realms, I have a whole chapter on backward engineering and a section on the secrets that have been kept, because this is the core secret. This is what it's all about, to work with this technology to integrate it into our own military forces and to use it for whatever means. Just as you know, a couple months ago, President Trump announced a new sixth arm of the military called the Space Force.
Right.
So now it's coming above ground, finally. We've known about the secret space program for quite a while. I've met some of the super soldiers at conferences and talked to them about their experiences, the 20 and back, and what it takes for them to live off planet. But you got to understand, Dave, we live at a very, very crucial moment right now in Earth history. We have people that live off planet. We have people that are not terrestrial anymore. And we also have people on this planet who still live in a Stone Age existence, say, for example, in Papua New Guinea or the Amazon rainforest. So right now you have the whole dichotomy of humans, and you and I kind of somewhere in the middle of spacefaring humans and Stone Age humans at the same time. So Earth is a very unique example of how diverse all of humanity is. You know, you look at animals. Animals have a form of telepathy or communication, the way that ants march off in a line, and they're using different senses and sense. And we have that too. Humans have that as well. We just haven't tapped into it. And we've been fed a lot of disinformation and untruths and things that have kept us away from knowing that our human family actually is connected in more ways than we think. And this is very important because this will play into our exploration of the solar system and the universe, because we're going to have to really entrain our minds to become what I call in another chapter in Future Esoteric superhuman abilities, namely telepathy, which is said that extraterrestrials have the ability to speak with us telepathically. So until we start using this in our own school curriculum, so forth, we're at a bit of a disadvantage. I know you love sports, and so do I. I see you're wearing a Bears hat, and it's all fun. It's great to watch. It's entertaining, but it's really not going to get us into the state where, I'm just saying, to learn about this stuff, it should be at a school level. I mean, we should have gone to kindergarten to start training ourselves how to become telepathic. But of course,
I agree with you 100%. I know for a fact whoever pilots the UFOs are telepathic. I got a question from my chat room for you from a Chuck Bam. He said, is there some kind of war going on underground in the U.S.?
Oh, you bet there is.
Could you explain?
Yeah, I also have a chapter in my book called Future Esoteric about the underground bases. And indeed, right now there are over 130 known underground bases here in just the U.S. There's also a train system that runs at Mach 2 speeds that connects them all. Maglev, magnetic levitation trains, and they also extend to Canada in the north and Mexico in the south. But primarily what's going on here at our underground bases is there is a war. And it was even a news story a couple months ago that our military is training for underground warfare. Now that seems awfully peculiar. What would they be doing down there unless there is a war going on underground? And indeed there is. I don't know if you follow the Q posts or the QAnon message boards and this information that's coming out, but there was a big hubbub about a Q post last year that said something big was going to happen on the 4th of July. And when nothing happened in the above ground media, people said, aha, see, there's nothing to this Q. Well, actually something really big happened. And it happened underground. Well, it was at the China Lakes Naval Air Station, which is in the Mojave Desert, some 200 or 300 miles from the ocean. What a naval base is doing in the Mojave Desert, I don't know. But there was a very, very large earthquake there, actually a series of them, the largest being a 7.1, and then a couple days later, a 6.5. Happened on the 4th of July, and it basically took out that underground base. And that was a very notorious one that was involved with human trafficking. It was also involved with a lot of the chemtrailing, especially out here west. And absolutely, there has been a slowdown of the amount of chemtrails on the West Coast that I've noticed.
What do you think?
Importantly, just to finalize this whole thing with China Lake, it's near a town called Ridgecrest. It was called the Ridgecrest earthquake, and it had a signature of a perfect T that went down for about a mile. Well, look, nature doesn't create in perfect right angles, at least not for 2, 3, 4 earthquakes, all the same, exact same dimensions where these earthquakes were. So it took out these 8 levels. And there have been other earthquakes that have been occurring really strange places, like in the Appalachian Mountains, where there's hardly any earthquakes, out in Colorado, or just last month, Dugway, Utah was a big underground base that got taken out. And we also had another big one up in wine country here in California right after those fires, which were directed energy attacks. I went out and investigated that one and the other one from 2.5 years ago and saw the burn sites, and they were very unusual, Dave.
Wow.
Trees burning from the inside, bushes that were perfectly intact, yet a foot away, everything charred. Extreme heat in one side of the street, perfectly fine on the other.
Whose weapon was it? Whose do you think did it?
That's a great question. I think the jury is still out, but it looks like they're used to foment upheaval in certain ways, to create, clear out land. Perhaps there's something underground, as in the case where the latest ones near Geyserville, these fires last November. And then, lo and behold, a deep underground military base got taken out about a month later. So let's see if those attacks continue in California this fall, when it is the conditions create high winds. They're called the Santa Ana winds, that come out from the desert and blow in westward direction. Usually it's the other way around. The weather comes off the ocean. So this particular one up in Geyserville was very, very strange, because wooden buildings perfectly intact, a stone building with a metal roof burned to the ground, and you can actually see the burn marks, and sometimes even the round circular burn starts where they start and then they move. So why they're doing it, it could also be to just create this, it's called a strategy of tension. This goes into more about what false flags are all about. That term came about during Operation Gladio, which was actually declassified. And some of the low-level players that were planting bombs in Italy in the 1970s were put on trial. And they said, when asked, why were you doing this? What were your orders for? They would say it's called a strategy of tension, meaning they want to get people on edge. They want to get people to do what they want to do. You can see the fingerprints of this all over the whole COVID scam, and keeping us with masks on, and keeping us afraid, and keeping us indoors, and keeping us from interacting. So it's a very devious scheme to bring in this whole new world order. And as David Icke said years ago, there's going to come a time when they're going to go above ground with all this stuff. And that's what we're seeing right now. They're making their big plans for a world government, a one world currency, and then there will be a one world religion. This is all part of it. And the UN just happened to come out with a website this week called UNNWO, United Nations New World Order. So they're coming right above ground with it. Here we are. We're doing it. There's nothing you can do to stop us. And hopefully they will fail.
What is Space Force? How does Space Force play into all that?
I don't know much about what their missions are. It's still been fairly secretive. They're not even really talking about what kind of craft they're using. They're saying, hey, we started this new division of the military and we're going to be out there fighting the good fight in outer space. Right now, they're just pretty much saying they want to protect the assets, satellites, and so forth. And there is a law since the 1970s not to weaponize space.
Right.
You can't put direct energy weapons, for example, up in outer space and take out whatever they want to do here on the ground. So there are laws against that. And so I would assume that Space Force is there doing some policing of weapons in outer space.
I think that treaty was called the Arctic Treaty or Antarctic Treaty, one of the two, where Russia and United States agreed not to weaponize space. But, the United States went ahead and put the Space Force ahead. No one knows their intention, really. Sure, it's to protect. But I would think they would want to go after the humans that are taken away by the ETs and bring them back. Why are the ETs taking them away again?
Taking who away?
Humans. Are they taking them away to different planets and such?
Okay, well, this goes into cattle mutilations and human abductions, which have been going on for decades. And again, I work with some of the top researchers in this field, like Linda Moulton Howe and Chris O'Brien, both friends of mine.
Cool. And
basically, they've written books about it. Linda's book is called A Strange Harvest, about the cattle mutilations. But as far as human trafficking, well, this also ties into what I was saying about Ridgecrest and the underground bases facilitating human traffic. Even on the FBI admit that 40,000 Americans go missing every single year. Just no trace. They're gone. Out of here. Some of the super soldiers have said that they have seen people in cages moving off planet. Highly illegal, highly unethical. We want that to end for sure. But there is a high demand for humans, both body parts, living as slaves, prostitutes, and also our DNA is very valuable to certain ET races who are basically now test tube species. So, for example, the small grays are all born out of test tubes, and they don't have what we would have, such as natural reproduction cycles. They don't have love that keeps it going. So they need us. They need our DNA for their own good. And this is the nature of what the hybrid programs are all about too. And they too, highly illegal, many of them taking place underground. Many of these ETs are underground. So the more you hear about these really oddball earthquakes in places that really never had earthquakes before, and they're in the range of, say, 4.5 to 6.5, those are underground bases being taken out. And there is a silent war with quiet weapons going on right now below our feet. And, of course, you're not going to get any of this information off the mainstream media. They're playing hush-hush. They want to talk about that. They'll just say, wow, and that's weird. We've never had an earthquake here ever before in this part of Appalachia. And now here we have a 5.2 earthquake. Well, amazing. The country is riddled with underground bases, and needs to be exposed, needs to be known. And everything I say here to you, Dave, and to the people listening, I really want everybody to do their own research. I really want everybody to follow up. If this stuff is interesting to you, go look it up. Go do your own independent research. Fortunately, we still have a fairly open internet where you can go and find this resource. That is closing quickly. I myself have been censored on many occasions, and I expect it to continue to happen. But in the meantime, it's available and it's open. So do it. Go do your research.
I agree with you. I said people should do that as well. One thing I wanted to ask you though, with my seeing UFOs fly over, I get a little upset at them because, like you had mentioned earlier, all the technology that they have, the free energy. It's why don't they come down and just help us with that, Brad? How come they don't come down and just share it with us? What are they holding back? Why don't they help out humanity? That's what's one big question. A lot of people always say, Dave, stay away from ETs. They're demonic. You don't want to be around that energy. But sometimes I feel some good impressions from them. But why aren't they helping humanity?
Well, let's keep in mind that there are two kinds of ETs. And again, I don't care what they look like. If they have scales, if they're very tall, if they're very short, if they're bipedal. Two things matter here, Dave. Are they service to self? And those are the ones that are doing the abductions and the cattle mutilations. And they have their own agenda. And they're the ones, unfortunately, that we're most acquainted with. And then there are the service to other ETs. And those ones do not make themselves known so readily, because think about it. If they landed on the White House lawn, let's say, and said, hey, we're here to wake up the world. Well, they're going to be our new gods. They're going to be our saviors. They're going to be our babysitters. We're going to say, well, you got to fix all this stuff that we screwed up. It's your responsibility now. They don't want that responsibility. They want us to do it. And look, all the wars and violence and starvation that's going on in this planet, they must look at this as the planet of the apes down here. I mean, we are a wild planet when it comes to that, and their safety could very well be affected with an interaction. Now, there are places around the world, some that I've been to, including South America, where they will have face-to-face CE5 interactions with people.
Wow.
I was just down there in November 2018 in Peru, and we were with a shaman woman, her daughter, and we have interactions with them all the time. They come out of Lake Titicaca. There's a big base down there. So there are good ones. They do live here. They do want to interact, but more importantly, they want us to do it for ourselves. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. You wouldn't do that if just like in the TV series Star Trek, they had the Prime Directive. Well, that happens to be a real universal law that ETs are not allowed to just come in and interfere with the development of an emerging race. And that's what we are right now. So
you are a real adventurer. You're a traveler. When you went to Antarctica, did you see any UFOs fly over? I'm sure there was nothing flying over. So if something flew over, it had to be a UFO, correct?
Well, UFO means unidentified flying object. It doesn't mean it's an alien or a secret space program craft. It could be a satellite as well.
Yes,
here's what happened. So,
right.
I am, as far as I know, one of the only researchers in this field to actually go down there, pay for my own trip with the express purpose of looking into all these claims about what's going on in Antarctica. And I was there just last year, January and February 2019.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and this is what I'd be speaking at conferences. In fact, I have a virtual conference coming up just a couple hours after this.
Oh, great. I hope I'm giving you a warm-up.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do you today. You kind of get my talk on.
There you go.
And I'll be giving my presentation both on the mysteries of South America and the hidden anomalies of Antarctica. Wow. So I went down there looking for all this stuff. Supposedly there's 3 massive craft under the ice that the military has nicknamed the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. I think I've been able to pinpoint one of those, which is in the German New Schwabenland claimed area, which I'll make in my presentation. Or if you see some of my YouTube videos online and my presentations, you can find it that way. Anyways, I'm very much into the free flow of information and being totally forthright with whatever I learn, and if people want to share my information, that's perfectly fine.
That's why I like you, Brad. You're very pleasing. You're a very nice guy. That you're a presentable person, and I really like your personality, man. You're super cool.
Thanks. Well, I like you too, Dave. Yeah, we're both on a similar quest to find out the truth, as everybody should be, really. This is the most important subject we could put our time and effort into understanding, and it will absolutely have a ramification for this planet and the humans in the future by understanding this stuff. So Antarctica is this big enigma. It is this continent that is on this planet, but it feels very otherworldly. Right now, they're going into their winter down there in the southern hemisphere. So Antarctica is the 5th largest continent in the world right now, and there's only 1,000 people there, just on some of the skeleton crews of some of the bases that stay open year round. So it's a very desolate place. It's covered with over 2 miles of ice on the polar plateau. And so it would be a great place to hide out, as well as being very volcanic. It's the most volcanic continent in the world, too. And the volcanoes can create these large cavities under the ice and would offer a perfect place to hide away if that's what you wanted to do. And it's what the Germans did after World War II. Keep in mind that Germany surrendered their fighting forces at the end of World War II, but the Third Reich never surrendered. And Admiral Dönitz, who actually did the surrender after Hitler disappeared, he was known as saying in 1943 that we built an impregnable fortress for our Fuhrer in the ice. So there is a base down there called the New Berlin base, point 211. If I were ever to get an opportunity to go back there with a film crew, that's where I'd want to go. And I would bring Geiger counters to check if it was hit with nuclear bombs, because in the late 1950s, there was a top secret nuclear explosion campaign going on in the Southern Ocean just off the coast of New Schwabenland, which is now called Queen Maud Land. It's basically directly below South Africa. And I would like to test to see if they nuked this particular base. And of course, we all know about Operation High Jump, where Admiral Byrd went down there with an armada of ships the year after World War II, and then got out of there 2 months after a 6-month expedition. Told a reporter from Chile that they had encountered craft, a new kind of enemy that could go pole to pole at incredible speeds. Boy, that sounds kind of like the new Space Force with these incredible craft.
Brad, I got another question from the chat room for you.
Sure.
Green Man asks, will you please ask him about Project High Jump?
Mm-hmm.
Could you please elaborate on Project High Jump?
Sure. Well, this is the Admiral Byrd mission was codenamed Operation High Jump, and they were basically going down there. Well, they said it was a scientific mission, but what do you need? An armada of ships that went into 2 directions. What do you need the Navy SEALs for? What do you need an attack force for? What do you need all these planes for? And indeed, they lost a lot of planes, a lot of lives. That was all covered up. They just wanted to say that, oh, there was some random plane crashes and loss of life. But actually, they went to attack the New Berlin base. And the first time they flew over, they dropped a couple bombs. They didn't see anything happen. The second day, they were flying in, and they were going to obliterate it. And those ships just went off the radar. No contact, no sighting, nothing, just gone. And then shortly after that, they were confronted with a craft that came out of the water. And they tried to shoot it down. They couldn't even get close to it. Shooting it, it had some kind of cloaking or force field that bullets and missiles, boing, 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 couldn't even come close. And what it did was it wanted to repel this force, but without destroying all of them, but just to send a very valuable message, hey, don't mess with us. They sliced one of the ships in half with a laser, kind of like a directed energy laser, and sunk it. It was called the USS Murdoch, and that is a whole other story in and of itself, because the Murdoch was also the ship where the Gulf of Tonkin incident was attacked by. But the Navy was known to change names of ships, so that's kind of irrelevant what it was named. But the important thing is they took out a ship, and Admiral Byrd got out of there. And he basically did not complete his mission, nor did they succeed in taking out the New Berlin base. That would be about a decade later when they nuked it under Project Argus. So that's the short answer of what high jump was all about.
Wow. Lots of information there. Have you ever seen a cryptid, Brad?
A cryptid. So a cryptid is basically a cryptozoological creature. It could be a chupacabra, it could be a Bigfoot, it could be a Loch Ness monster. I spent a couple nights last year. Sorry, I'm having a bad hair day.
No, that's all right. That's why I got my hat on.
Yeah, right. I should be wearing a hat too.
I've been cutting my own hair for 2 months. Look like I just got out of the Terror Dome in Australia.
Yeah, should be wearing a hat too. I spent 2 nights at the Skinwalker Ranch, property adjacent to it. A friend of mine owns it and invited me to come out. And I did see, well, I can't say I saw a cryptid, but I did see something moving out there. And then all the flashlights from the ranch house went out chasing after it. Saw some anomalous orange lights kind of just moving back and forth out in this field in the middle of the night. Weird stuff like that. And I met all those guys who are on the new History Channel show on Skinwalker Ranch. I spoke at the last big UFO conference this last February in Laughlin, Nevada, called UFO MegaCon. And they were there too, and really nice guys. And now their show has just appeared on the History Channel, and they're rock stars in the industry. But really cool guys when I met them.
I like that show. It's a pretty good one, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So these things need to be known, and this is what I call a paranormal hotspot. You got a lot of these paranormal hotspots around the country. Mount Shasta is another one. A lot of UFO sightings there.
I've been to East Seti Ranch. Have you ever been there?
Oh, I have been to East Seti Ranch. Yeah, I know James Gillen. And that's a paranormal hotspot to be sure.
James wasn't there. The dad was there, but I took my son up there, and we saw lots of stuff fly over. That's for sure. It's a real definite hotspot.
Were you there at night?
No, I was there like on the 4th of July a couple of years ago, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. I made a video. I put a video of it on my YouTube channel. So yeah, it's an interesting place. A lot of, what was weird to me is that the people would bring like their families and stuff to sit there at East Seti Ranch, and there'll be like little kids around, and you'll hear out of the blue, "Oh, mommy, is that a UFO?" And there it goes shooting by. A lot of people will claim that these things are nothing more than satellites, but they move in every different direction. They move in every different direction. They could not be satellites, Brad.
Oh, that's absolutely true. And they couldn't be flashlights or headlights either. I went and climbed Mount Adams where all the sightings were. And we got up to about 10,500 feet around the tree line level. And I looked off into that west-facing slope where all the lights are. And I'll tell you this, Dave, nobody is driving a car or running a snowmobile through there. It is razor-sharp lava fields in there. So I get back down and I talk to James. I said, "Hey, is anybody," I call it the zone of silence because it's just this huge whole side of this volcanic mountain that's completely uninhabited, just all these lava walls and very inhospitable terrain for people to hike there. They say even your hiking boots will get shredded. So wow. I asked James Gillen, has anybody gone in there? And he was kind of reluctant to tell me. And he goes, "Yeah, there was a guy that went in there a couple summers ago, and he came back and he was like ashen face." And James says, "Well, what did you see?" And he said he was going closer and closer to this area he called the garage door. And he said there was like just this interdimensional door, maybe a hologram, something that would open up. And as soon as he got within sight of it, there were entities that said, "Turn around and leave now. We're going to blow your, we'll make your head explode." And he was in a lot of pain. He had to turn around and run. And he got back. He didn't even really feel like telling James about it, but he said he found the quote door. He found the door where,
I saw a video on that. They had a video of a door opening them on the mountain. That was amazing stuff.
There's another one near the peak. That's what we were going to try to hike to that day. But I was speaking at on a panel that night at the ECETI, so we didn't have the time to summit.
Do you own drones? Are you a drone person? Do you think drones are easier to film things?
Oh, drones are a complete game changer. I don't own one. I know people that have them, and we film at places. And yeah, I've seen a lot of great drone footage where you can get different kind of footage that you'll never see from any other angle, much better than even an airplane.
I got another question from the chat room for you, Brad. You're making people want to chat, buddy.
All right, good.
The chat room's going crazy over you. They like you.
Bring it.
The Norm asks, ask him about Kingman, Arizona night. Anything weird there?
Well, gosh, the Norm must follow what I'm up to, because I was just out there with some other of my researcher friends. We call ourselves researchers, not regurgitators, people that just repeat what they hear. We go out and investigate these sites. And just last month, I went to Kingman, Arizona, and met Doc Rev and Jensen, and they had night vision goggles, and I was there with Sarah Adams, and we went out near where the Kingman crash was, one of the most famous crashes of the 1950s. And Eric Jensen, he got a tip that there was, again, like this interdimensional doorway, and there could be craft seen. Well, you know how, if you've ever done night sightings, you pretty much got to make a campfire and just kick it all night and keep looking at the skies. We were not going to stay the night there, so we were just watching for about an hour. And we did see some craft overhead. We did not see anything come out of this side of the mountain that we were keeping an eye on. So it's one of those things, you just got to put yourself in the right place at the right time, keep an open mind. These night vision goggles, the Gen 3, now you can buy them. They used to be highly classified. You couldn't get them, but boy, you can see a night landscape as you would in the daytime. They're just incredible. And more importantly, when you're looking up at the sky and seeing whatever kind of craft's flying over, planes, really obvious, they blink, they go to a certain speed. We've seen things moving at incredible speeds, making these irrational 90-degree angle. Now that's a telltale sign for a UFO right there. When they make those real sharp angled turns, no airplane that we know of can do that. And when they're moving that fast, in fact, that's the nickname that NORAD uses for UFOs. They call them fast walkers. Fast walkers are when they're just streaking across the sky at speeds that no airplane that we know of can travel at, where air traffic controllers will call our planes the slow walkers. So when you get a fast walker sighting, then that's a real, quote, UFO.
On my son's 15th birthday, I was sitting on the back deck with him, and we were in Yakima, Washington. And I said, hey, do you want to see a UFO? I was teasing him at the time, but I wasn't, and all of a sudden over the sky, two white dots were flying at the same exact speed. They flew into each other at the same exact speed and made like a smiley face, and then turned around and just went back the other direction. Do you understand what I'm trying to describe? They went right into each other and turned around, but it was all perfectly sequenced, and it was just quite amazing sight to see. I think Yakima, Washington State's really crazy with UFO activity out there. Are you sorry to bounce around, Brad. I just like to throw things at you.
Yeah, go for it.
Are you a crop circle fan? Are you a big fan?
For sure. Yeah. I have a chapter in Future Esoteric about crop circles too.
What do they mean? What is it? Because I love them. I think they're signs. I see. What I've seen a lot of UFOs that look like shapes in crop circles. To be honest with you.
Yeah, there are definitely messages in the crop circles. Sometimes there are even free energy device patterns that are displayed. Sometimes there are messages, veiled or even very overt messages in the crop circles. Of course, there are fakes, but those are easily discerned. And here's why, Dave. Fake crop circles, the stalks get broken down and padded down, right? Like Doug and Dave are the two guys who hoaxed them all. They run a board across and they break the stalks. Authentic crop circles are intertwined, and if allowed to grow back, they're not broken at all. They're just pressed down and intertwined in the stalks to create the patterns. So we're talking once again about technology that we don't on the surface have any idea how they're done. Now, we can speculate, and oftentimes when a crop circle is being formed, this is even on film, you can see orbs flying around, and within minutes, even in a very high intensity electrical rainstorm, the orbs will fly around and create a crop circle. Now tell me who's going to go out in a thunderstorm in the pouring rain in England in the middle of the night and create a perfectly geometrical 2 football fields long crop circle just for kicks?
No
Well, if anybody knows how to do it, there is still a standing offer of 100,000 English pounds. That's about 130,000 US for anybody who can reproduce the Milk Hill crop circle. Go out and do it. It's twice the size of a football field. It's about a 200 circles that create that pattern.
Oh, yeah.
And so far in the decade that has been offered, nobody's claimed that prize.
Wow, that's amazing. Hey, we got a special guest in the chat room right now. It's your cousin Sarah made it.
Sarah Danker asked Brad to talk about Rh negative blood. Yeah,
There you
well,
go.
that is in our family. Sarah's a neggy. We talk about this all the time when I come out for a family visit, because my dad's Rh negative, her mom is Rh negative. My mother was Rh positive, so I'm Rh positive, but I could have an Rh negative child. Now, what is that? Well, it's Rh stands for rhesus monkey. Okay, so 85% of all humans are Rh positive. That means there's a tracker to go back to the apes and the whole notion that humans evolved up from the apes. 85% of us have proof that that's true. But if you're Rh negative, you don't have that. So where did they come from? And so Sarah's kind of onto something here, because if you don't have that tracking in your blood to go to the Rh negative blood types, that means you're devoid of it. That means you're without. Well, there's a lot of other weird things about people who are Rh negative, and you can talk to Sarah about this too, and she would agree that they tend to be more psychic, they're more perceptive. They can even have physical differences, such as an extra vertebrae at the bottom of the vertebrae, almost like a little tail poking out, sometimes an extra rib. So we're talking about a different kind of human that lives within the human race. So about a year ago, Nature magazine came out and said, hey, there's two different species of African giraffe. Well, look, to the untrained eye, you'd say, I can't tell the difference. It's kind of the same thing with Rh negative people. You can't tell the difference on the surface, but they're different. And they can still mate with Rh positive people. However, if an Rh negative mother, such as Sarah and my grandmother, is pregnant with an Rh positive baby, which was the case with our Uncle Douglas, he died after 5 days. He was infected by my grandmother's blood, and it killed him. And he was what was known back then as a blue baby.
Wow.
Now it's called celiac disease. And there are pills that mothers who are Rh negative can take to protect their babies. However, no other animal in the world has blood of a mother that can infect its young and kill it. So that should be a pretty good tip that Rh negative people are a little bit different. And some say are actually the progenitors of some of the antediluvian civilizations that were once here on Earth. Because the highest concentration of Rh negative people are the Celtic regions of Northern Europe, the Basque region in the Pyrenees Mountains between France and Spain, and also the Atlas Mountains in Africa between Morocco and Algeria, where they happen to have blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes, red hair, and are very Caucasian looking. And in those areas, you have the highest percentage of Rh negative people in the world. And it's presumed, and this is also coming from Edgar Casey, he said that they were the survivors of Atlantis, that's where they migrated to after the continent shifted, and that's where the survivors moved to. So there are a lot of other things that have to do with Rh negative. We could do a whole show on it, but just to touch on it, there you go. Sarah will tell you more when you see her.
We're getting to the end of the hour. I promised these guys in the bar I would only do an hour because they have to do a lot of work and get it all wrapped up. But before we go, I just wanted to ask you, where's your favorite place in the world?
Oh, boy. Well, now I'm in the 7 Continent Club. I've been around the world, up and down, all 7 continents. I guess it depends what you're asking, because, I mean, I love to go to old
if you just had a place to just chill out and it was just for you to just always there and relax, where heaven on earth, where would that be?
Heaven on earth. Probably Southeast Asia, because you got a lot of great ruins like Angkor Wat and Borobudur in Indonesia. The people are really cool. I love Buddhist people. They're very mellow. They're not always hustling you for money.
I have a brother that lives in Thailand right now. He loves it.
Yeah. And the cost of living is inexpensive. The weather's usually pretty great, especially in the winter. If you go there, it's beach weather all the time. And the people are just really friendly and open. They speak English. Dollar goes a long way. So
you must be able to eat anything, huh?
You can eat, yeah, but they cater to Western diets.
But do you try the natural food that's around everywhere you go?
You know, eat like a plantain with your banana pancakes instead of a banana, things like that. But I'm not into eating the snakes or the cockroaches or all that Anthony Bourdain exotic stuff. Leave it for the next guy to do that show.
So when's your next conference?
In 2 hours.
Oh, that's nice. A virtual one. How about are you going to travel anywhere? You said
no. It's virtual. It's right here. I'll still be wearing the same shirt and having my bad hair day.
You said you were going to travel somewhere in the next 2 weeks, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm heading up to the Redwoods in Northern California next week. A friend of mine has a cabin up there. We're going to go do a little naturing. Take the shoes off, jump in the water.
Do you take pictures of everywhere you go? Is there a place where people? No, you don't.
Nah, I want a semblance of privacy in my life. I'll possibly put a few shots up, but I'm not the kind of person that really wants the whole world to know everything I'm doing. Nor do I feel I'm that important to really for people to care.
Are you going to be involved in any TV shows in the future, or movies, or any documentaries, or anything like this?
Yeah, I just come and gone to Boulder, Colorado this month and last month, shooting for Gaia right now, but currently all of Hollywood is shut down until the fall. So they have not renewed Ancient Aliens or any of the other TV shows. So really everything's just on hold right now, Dave. And yeah, I'll do them again, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're super awesome, Brad. I really want to thank you, man. Thank you for jumping on with me here. I know I'm kind of one nobody right now, but I'm trying to start a live stream about paranormal things, and I really appreciate you coming here to talk about that. You enlightened us on a lot of subjects here.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Dave, and I'm glad Sarah put us in touch. And next time in Chicago, let's meet at that bar behind you, and we'll toast the beer. How about that?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you, brother. I will talk to you again soon. Okay.
All right. You too.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye. That was Brad Olsen, everybody. Wow. Brad, oh my God, what's wrong with me?
What?
Why do I always look so weird? Oh. Come here, Matt, say hi. Here, Matt's going to say hi to you guys for a minute.
Hi, how's it going?
There's Matt, everybody misses you.
Sorry, I real busy getting the bar open today. We're opening in
24 hours.
Less than that.
Less than 24 hours.
Yeah, 18 hours. 18 hours we're open for operations. So
Matt's all geeked up to clean and do all kinds of things. Organize, clean. Here, let me turn this camera around so you guys can have a better look at the bar instead of me. You guys are all good? Everybody's good? That was the show. Sorry if I'm screaming in your ear. That was the show. You guys like Brad? I thought Brad was awesome. The guy was fucking awesome. The guy was super cool, just like my chat room. You guys are all the coolest. I haven't been on Goof On in a little while because I've been cleaning and shit, painting. My arms hurt. Everybody's getting all crazy over here, so I don't have time to get on the chat rooms much. But I'm glad Brad came on. But after tomorrow, I'll be back on the chatters. So I'll see you guys on Goof On, and I'll see you on Manny Moonraker, and I'll see you on Spaced Out Radio, and all Rick's Realm, Area 503. Who else is out there? Everybody with the cool channels. You guys support each other, all right? Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys soon. Peace. Peace out.